Welcome to the KINJAZ Podcast. Here we will discuss dance, life, and whatever the we want.
And folks, welcome back or welcome to Kinjaz Movement in the Shadows. We are your hosts, Ben
and Anthony.
And as always, we have an incredible guest in the pod. Today we have artist, dancer, choreographer, model, entrepreneur. He's collaborated with artists such as Yo-Yo Ma, Alicia Keys, Madonna, Janelle Monáe, just to name a few. He's worked with brands such as Nike, Chanel, Versace, and Apple Music, also to name a few. He was a guest judge on So You Think You Can Dance. In 2014, he was presented with the Wall Street Journal's Innovator of the Year Award. Currently, he's producing multiple stage shows which culminate the essence of dance as a tool to change the world. Folks, we have Lil Buck in the pod.
Pew, 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 pew.
She. You hit us with the she.
Hey, that was quite an introduction.
Hey,
That's quite a life you got, man.
Yeah, that's all you, bro. Well, man, thank you
it's
for
good to be here.
Yeah,
Good to
thank
be
you for
here.
stopping through. This is your first time in the pod.
Yeah,
It's your
man.
first time. So as a first-time guest, we always love to get to know the person, their origin stories of where you grew up and all that good stuff. So can you kind of walk us through the origins of Lil Buck?
No doubt, yeah. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. So I was born in Chicago, on the west side of Chicago, and my mom moved to Memphis when I was around like 7 years old. So I was just raised in Memphis, Tennessee. Moved around a lot, but mostly in South Memphis and in Westwood. Those y'all from Memphis, y'all know what Westwood is. Shouts out to Westwood.
Okay.
But
We have a Westwood in LA, but I feel like it's
y'all do.
different.
Yeah, it's
UCLA.
definitely different.
UCLA.
It's completely different. But from Memphis, Tennessee, man, just that's where I got everything pretty much. That's where I learned how to dance. That's where I got, my whole artistic side of me, kind of just blossomed from Memphis.
What age did you kind of start exploring dance?
I really got into, I've always been just moving around, as a little kid, but I really got into dance around the age of 13 years old. My sister, actually one of my oldest sisters, she was a dancer. She was a majorette. I don't know. Do y'all got is there majorettes in LA?
What's a majorette?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. So in schools, like, high school, whatever, they got these majorettes. This is like a group of female dancers that, they usually use the batons too, as well. They twirl the batons.
Okay,
and then they do these different steps, and
Right.
they're dancing to the drummers, the drum line that's a
yeah.
part of the school. So they're majorettes. And my sister was a majorette. She was like the captain of her team, but she was also just a good dancer in general. She pretty much got me into dance.
How much older is she than you?
Man, she's about 3 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I got another older sister that's about 4 years older than me. But yes, Stephanie is the sister that got me into dance, and she just always loved doing different types of dance. She did hip hop. She was a majorette. She did all types of stuff, and she just inspired me growing up because we just grew up with a lot of hardship, and we was like extra poor, and we didn't have anything. So like. Dance is one of those main things that kept us happy.
Mm-hmm.
And she always there was always something that we had, of our own, because we were the only two dancers in the family that would really just, enjoy dancing like that. So, that's something we shared together.
And your
just moved
parents
around.
supportive of it, just kind of down to let you guys do what you guys wanted to do?
Yeah, because it's just a hobby, right?
Mhm.
Like we were just kids dancing. So back then it wasn't a big deal. My parents didn't mind it at all. It was just something for us to do.
Right.
As far as work wise, that's another story when I got older.
Yeah.
But when we was young, it was that was just the thing we do.
Were you how was schooling and all that? Did you go to school, college, or any of that?
Graduated from high school. But yep, grew up in Memphis. Went to school out there. Went to some different public schools. Wasn't doing good in public school because I don't know if I would never diagnose, but I feel like I had ADHD. I just couldn't pay attention because my mind was always floating to, something dealing with dance or movements or anything like that. And I actually got in a lot of trouble, man. I used to I used to get into fights and stuff. I was hanging around the wrong crowd.
In high school?
Yeah, high school. And so my mom moved me to this school called Yo Memphis Academy, and Yo is a abbreviation for Youth Opportunity Memphis. So it was Youth Opportunity Memphis Academy.
I was waiting for that to be the abbreviation for Yo-Yo Ma, but it didn't.
Close.
It's okay. Next try.
Yeah, but it was a visual and performing arts school. We don't have a lot of those in Memphis at all. It was like probably the second performing arts school we had in the whole city. So my mom got me into that because my GPA was just borderline good enough to get into that school. So that's when I really started to see the whole artistic side of dance, and just that it was people out there like me who would just, who had a gift, but that gift was being, polished, and, they was able to hone in on their gifts, because in public school in Memphis, it's a lot of distractions, man. You got, people just grow up fast out there. It's a hard place to live, right? So you got a lot of, people who have, parents that live hard lives, and then that, that just trickles down to their kids, and then the kids go to school and, acting crazy or fighting and doing all types of stuff like that. So, we just had to grow up with tough skin and go to school with and just wear this armor, if you would. But like in that visual and performing arts school, it was a place where I could just, take that, let that armor come off for a bit and be able to be who I really was. So that's where I started to just polish my dance and really.
Was there, in terms of your dance, in terms of styles that you kind of naturally gravitated towards? I would imagine hip hop was probably.
Well, honestly, the thing about it is we never considered, there's a dance style in Memphis called Memphis Jukin', right? Yeah. And that's my predominant dance style. And we never considered that hip hop. I don't know why. Like, I think it's because the music that Memphis Jukin' came from was Memphis underground rap music. And it was just music that was made different. And so Memphis Jukin' started in like the late 80s, right? Like going into the early 90s. And during that time, I think hip hop inspired a lot of the music that was happening, but what we did to that music was different, right? So what we did was like we slow the music down, or make it like or take certain samples of hip hop and make it. And we had this era in Memphis called horrorcore, right? Of music. It's called horrorcore, like horror, like a horror film. So they take like samples from horror films and like different hip hop songs and slow them down and make them sound like, just crazy and dark. And that was that whole vibe in Memphis, and with those beats and how they did those 808s and just snares and those triplets and the hi-hats and things like that, and how they brought it all together and had those gangsta just horror, just samples, and all of it together just made us move a certain way, and that helped create the dance style, because we had a specific bounce that came with that. So
is that kind of like the where it's at, I guess, generally speaking, where you said like we never considered it hip hop? Is that where Memphis Jukin' is in kind of the conversation relative to hip hop? Is that like widely accepted? Do people in hip hop acknowledge that Memphis Jukin' is like a completely separate movement entity, or
I don't think it's I don't think it's really a thing like that, as far as like whether people acknowledge it as a dance style that isn't in that hip hop world. I think some people probably categorize it as hip hop because they don't know what else to categorize it as. We just call it Memphis Jukin'. It came from gangsta walking, really, which is that style that they used to do back in the 80s. It was like this confident strut. So we just called it gangsta walking because it was just real life gangsters that was doing it. It was unfiltered, real life people that was on a block, gang banging or drug dealing or whatever. These guys, they was doing this. This was the dance that was cool for us in Memphis. So we just called it gangsta walking. We never called it hip hop. We never called it anything like that, because we didn't really do it to your typical hip hop music. Back in that day, we just did it to that specific Memphis sound, to those local artists that were making music in the city back in the day. and they didn't consider themselves hip hop artists as much as they considered themselves just, gangster rappers.
Has any of those artists kind of broken out into a mainstream sort of
Oh yeah, man.
space?
So like a lot of the artists that really influenced that sound was, the DJs too. Like, well, this guy named DJ Spanish Fly, and he's like the godfather of that Memphis underground rap scene, right?
That's a badass name, Spanish
Yeah,
Fly.
DJ Spanish Fly. He's actually, you know what? Y'all know who Karen Frost is? Fashion guy. So like, if you look up one of his, he just did like a Adidas campaign. He did a Adidas collab like not too long ago. It was like not this recent season, but the one before, and he pretty much featured DJ Spanish Fly, which was dope.
Okay, dope.
So I think that was pretty cool. But DJ Spanish Fly was like the godfather of Memphis underground rap music. Then you had guys that came after him like DJ Squeaky, DJ Zerk, DJ Paul from 3-6 Mafia.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So these guys were the ones, who were really making that music, our own in Memphis and making that sound very distinctive to the city. And that was, and I don't think the dance style would have grown to be what it was without that, So those are the guys that are really putting it on the map. And they was, they still relevant. DJ Squeaky was making beats for rest in peace Young Dolph, and DJ Zerk, still relevant in the city. And but 3-6 Mafia, of course, they still doing their thing. DJ
Right.
Paul still making beats for people. It's crazy how like hip hop in this generation right now has just started to catch up to what, not just started to catch up, but people just started to catch up to what Memphis has been doing for so many years, because that style of music that we've created in that city has been a big inspiration in the hip hop scene, as far as like how people take on music, a lot of artists. And you hear that a lot right now with like A$AP Rocky. Think about the beats that A$AP Rocky used nowadays,
Right.
and he pays a lot of homage to Memphis, to Juicy J from 3-6 Mafia. DJ Paul's making a lot of his music. You got Travis Scott. He's using a lot of that Memphis sound. Drake using a lot of that Memphis sound because he has those Memphis ties with his dad being from Memphis. So a lot of that Memphis sound right now is just getting that recognition, but they still relevant, and they've been doing their thing for a long time, man.
Yeah, that's dope.
It sounds like, obviously, because Memphis Jukin is definitely what I also know you for, you know what I mean? And it's definitely, like you said, the dance that you put up the most. I see in the description of like the shows that you've been putting out together and stuff like that, you're bringing like the culture and the history, and you're definitely putting like this flag of Memphis, on your back, and you're carrying it very, very well and proudly. How important is it for you to like, be kind of an ambassador for both like the Memphis Jukin like style and culture, and also just for the city that you grew up from? Because I think in all of those places there's also a connection to maybe the hardships that you were facing or running into, and how dance was both an introduction and escape to that lifestyle. Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, it means the world, and I feel like it's a part of my I feel like it's my duty in a way, it's something that I have to do, because me being somebody, first of all, like, not born in Memphis, but raised in Memphis. So I consider myself from Memphis, but still, like, being somebody who came into Memphis and discovered this world for myself, and just, saw all the value of it, but also got to appreciate the culture of it. You know what I'm saying? And the lifestyle of it, from like the spinning rims to just like how people just, how people culturally just, come together and do this thing, and how it's such a big part of people's lives in Memphis. Like, people live Memphis Jukin. My mom used to gangster walk. Like, it's a lot of people. Yeah. So like, people grow up into this, and people live this, people live that culture. Memphis Jukin is just not a dance style, it's a culture. So I feel like it's my responsibility to pay homage to it, and to always try to put it on a map, because it gave me so much, back when I didn't know who I was, as a person in general, or a dancer, back when I was still trying to find myself. Memphis Jukin gave me that, it helped me find who I was through that movement, because, like I said, I was getting in a lot of trouble before in school and all that. And I just, you know, my life is going in so many different directions. But I was also, you know, it was weird because I was getting a lot of fights, but I wasn't causing the fight. So I was pretty much getting bullied, you know?
Yeah.
I used to get bullied back in
Yeah.
the day just because I wasn't from the city. You know what I'm saying? So like, I had to go through a lot of that. I had to go through a lot of hardships in general within my family and outside of my family and all of that. And that, you know, and growing up with my mom, you know, growing up with a single mom, you know, she was just doing all she can to survive. So she had to do she had so many jobs that she had to work. So a lot of my time, I didn't have a lot of family time with my family, you know, like, so I was just thankful that culture of Memphis Jukin, you know, welcomed me with open arms, you know. I know it came from gangster walking but they welcomed me, you know, no matter what background I came from, no matter what I like, no matter if I was, you know, born in Memphis or not. So that was my family, you know.
And how does
culture.
one get welcomed into, like, you just see some gangsters
Oh,
walking
you
on
get
the
jumped
street?
in, bro. You get jumped
You
in.
get
No,
jumped
I'm joking. You don't get jumped in. Thankfully, you don't get jumped in. No, but for me, what happened was, in my personal, you know, story in how I, you know, got involved within the culture was, you know, we had these DVDs that used to circulate in the city, right? So like, you know, people was hustling, you know, trying to make a living. So like these jokers were actually making DVDs of themselves, recording themselves in the clubs or recording themselves in different skating rinks, just bumping, you know, just dancing and doing their thing. Like some of the GOATs was doing this, like, you know what I'm saying, back in the day. So like these DVDs would circulate just around different neighborhoods, because Memphis is a small, you know, it's not that, you know, everybody knows somebody that knows somebody in Memphis, right? So like these DVDs would circulate. And back when I was just a beginner jooker, just trying to learn a little bit, because, you know, how I discovered it was my sister came home from school, and when she was in high school, it was my last year in middle school, she came home from school and she was doing this little jooking routine, and it just blew my mind. And then she was like, yeah, my friend Zephaniah taught me how to juke. And then she taught me that routine. And I was just stuck ever since, right? So I've been just trying to learn it through her. But then these DVDs would circulate, and then I got a hold of this DVD called Crash the Club, right? And this DVD called Crash the Club was, you know, it had the GOATs on there. It had Daniel Price, you know, known as DP. And it had Gino, the legend before me, like super legend before me. I actually adopted a lot of my style from Gino, from watching Gino, because he was crazy flexible with his legs and everything. Rest in peace. He passed away not too long ago. But yeah, these guys were on this DVD. G-Nerd, like a lot of these famous jookers that a lot of people know now, Lil Black, all these people was on this DVD going crazy, right? And that is how I got inspired to keep it going. And, you know, I got to watch these guys. But it wasn't until my friend Young Jay, who was a music artist in Memphis, but he also was the person, I mean, it was a lot of people documented, of course, but he was the guy that said, you know what, I'm going to invest into a camera to actually document this culture the right, you know, in a way where everybody gets to appreciate it.
The one dude that was like, I'm gonna invest in the camera. That was
because he was like, this is crazy, you know, this is something that people gotta see,
right?
Like people need to know about this, not just like us in this, you know, subculture of, of Memphis, and you know, he was just like, everybody in Memphis need to know about this. So he started to record it to actually, he wanted to make an official Memphis Jukin DVD, like of all the different jookers in different neighborhoods, whether you're from South Memphis, North Memphis, East Memphis, West Memphis. So like he wanted to put together a official Memphis Jukin DVD. So he got in touch with all these different jookers, and I met him. I was introduced to him from his sister, and then he asked me to be on that DVD. And what happened was there was this huge session that we had outside this parking lot, because we used to just dance in parking lots or garages and stuff. So he had this big session outside this club parking lot in Memphis. And at this session, it was all the jookers from north, south, east, west what came here. Like all the big name jookers, all the legends, everybody came out. And that was my first introduction to them, you know, in the culture. I was just a little kid just trying to, you know, do what I can back in my neighborhood. And I'd never seen these guys until then. And all this stuff is on YouTube too. It's crazy. It's called Memphis Jukin Volume 1. If anybody wants
Volume 1.
Yeah, you can YouTube Memphis Jukin Volume 1. So like all these guys was on that, you know, in that one session, and I just, you know, I prayed to God that nobody would you would laugh at me, and I just went out there and just started doing my thing. And then but my style was still unpolished. It was so much I had to learn, but I went out there and did my thing, and everybody went crazy because my style was so different. And that's when I was, introduced to, the people like Dr. Rico and Daniel Price and G Nerd and all them. Everybody was there. Bobo, one of my biggest inspirations. Everybody was there, and they all just gave me praise. And Dr. Rico walked up to me and he was like, "Hey man, you pretty good, but get with me and I'll give you some of this. I'll teach you some basics or whatever." So that's how it happened. And you
listened, you got with him.
Yeah, of course. I went home and I was just like, yeah, that's what's up. Yes. And the next day he talked to me, and then I started going over his house and just learning from him, man. And that's when he started teaching me about the culture and that, how big it really is and how impactful it really is and important it really is to the city. And so it's deep, man. Memphis Jukin culture is so deep, and it's something that I feel that needs to be appreciated. And in this era right now, in this generation, it gets mixed into like a lot of these different social dancers, right? It gets mixed into, Hit Them Folks and all these other different social dances that you see online, and people confuse it. People don't know what Memphis Jukin actually is. They think that's it. They think doing the Hit Them Folks and then doing like a little move from Jukin, the kickstand or whatever. They think all of that is Memphis Jukin. So it's a lot of misinformation out there about what it is. So that's why it's important for me to, try to represent as authentically as I can in the culture, and just, preach the gospel of Memphis Jukin and what it really is.
Yeah. You mentioned that, as you were growing up, you kind of got into trouble, right? Like you get into fights and things like that. And do you feel like the Memphis Jukin like community was what you were kind of gravitating towards in terms of like you feeling accepted, right? Like you were like, I pray to God that no one's gonna laugh at me, but like, not only did they not laugh, they're like, yo, this kid's kind of nice, and like they kind of took you in. Do you feel like that sort of like sense of belonging to a community was what kind of drew you out of that sort of like, kind of getting into trouble lifestyle into like, I'd rather be with these folks. It's positive here. And they're doing the thing that you really genuinely enjoy doing, and then it kind of like because what I feel like a lot of times as kids, when we find ourselves with whatever social group we find ourselves in, it's like it's the place where we feel the safest, and it's also kind of like I'd rather spend my time being with these folks that I feel safe with, that I feel accepted. I also find myself enjoying what they're doing, and then feeling like I'd rather be doing that, something that's positive, versus kind of hanging out with the folks that are going to take you down a negative path. Like, was that the community aspect is what you kind of felt yourself gravitating towards?
Absolutely. Like 1,000%. And I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't that easy in the Jukin culture either to get it. I was accepted as far as like them being like, all right, you got a little something, but I still had to work my ass off, to really be, seen as an authentic Memphis Juker. Like I had a lot to learn. Like I said, I couldn't even buck jump right. I couldn't even do some of the basic moves that you got to do in Memphis Juker when I first went out there and threw myself in the lines then. And so I went through a lot to get the respect within the culture from the people that I wanted to get respect from. But yeah, man, I say like that really being a part of that community and having that, camaraderie with all of those guys that I looked up to, and being able to have that communication with the people I looked up to, and those guys that I would watch on these DVDs and just praise and idolize, just being in their vicinity and being able to go over their house and learn from them. That was, that was a blessing for me. A lot of people don't, even in Memphis, back then, a lot of people didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I didn't take it for granted at all. So like, yeah, a lot of my time I was just spend with these guys instead of doing what I used to do, hanging around certain folks. Cause I was hanging around a lot of, just gang members and stuff like that on the everyday. We weren't doing nothing but smoking weed and fucking and chilling and doing the same shit every day,
right.
And causing trouble. So when that group, accepted me, then I was just like, oh yeah, I gotta go, y'all. I'm headed over here.
Right.
So it definitely kept me out of trouble. It definitely, gave me something productive to do, with my life every day. And yeah, it made me realize that I actually had something that was you know, I mean, it made me realize I just had something in general. It made me realize that I existed, you know, in a way that I never knew I could. So it gave me a lot, just, you know, having that camaraderie.
At what point did you realize that dancing wasn't just like a passion of yours, but it was something that you wanted to kind of make a bigger part of your life to even pursue it professionally? Was there a person, or was there some sort of a turning point where it was kind of like the light bulb moment of like, I'm gonna go for this?
Yeah, well, like I said, I started when I was 13, and I think I started to get really good at it within a few years, because I was just like tirelessly just training my ass off, like sun up to sundown. But when I was around 16, going on 17 or something, I was really good in Memphis, and I was fearless, and I was, you know, just battling people left and right. I would go to different people's neighborhoods and battle them. Like, I was just like, I didn't care. Like, but I think when I was around 16 to 17, my cousin Miles Yachts, he was a juker too. I kind of introduced him to Memphis juking, but he did like he was into hip hop dancing, you know, just like, you know, choreo and all that other stuff like that. He actually got me involved in a company out in Memphis called Subculture Royalty, and it was a group of all girls. And he was like, "Hey man, join this group with me, man." And that group actually was, the dance coach for that group actually was the dance teacher at Yo Memphis Academy, my high school I went to. And he was like, and he went to the same high school I went to, so he was just like, "Join this group with me, man." I was like, "Man, it's a group full of girls." And he was like, "Yeah, exactly."
It's like, duh.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. I had to open my eyes real quick. I was like, yeah. We gonna just chill in the back, you know. But he got me into, you know, just choreo and all that stuff like that. And I was able to learn and pick up on choreo fast, you know, just from being a part of that group. And, you know, I got him into Memphis juking, and we became a duo. We became a dynamic duo, and we started to, and the more we got good really fast. So like, that's when I started to see the potential of it, like as far as like what I can do with it, and that it's something missing, you know. And then YouTube came about, you know what I'm saying? And then people started uploading videos, and then you know, some videos of us Memphis juking was uploaded, and next thing you know, we start seeing videos of people in Iceland or certain places around the world that you wouldn't imagine dancing to Memphis music, trying to juke. Mm-hmm. And we were just like, the hell is this? Like, people really fucking with it like that, you know? Yeah. So like, we was like, oh man, this might be bigger than what we think. And it was a lot of people within the culture that knew we had something going on. And I knew it was something special about it, because I used to look up to Michael Jackson, and I would, you know, growing up, and I still look up to Michael. I mean, he's still one of my biggest inspirations, but like, I thought that you just had to be him, or you had to be somebody like, I just thought he was just special the way he moved, because I didn't have a lot of access. Like I said, we didn't have TV or nothing but I mean, we didn't have cable or anything like that, but I had some Michael Jackson tapes when I was younger, and I used to just watch him religiously and be like, man, can't nobody move like that but him. And then when I saw these guys gliding on fucking concrete, like nothing, with baggy jeans on and goals in their mouth and looking like the people I wanted to look like, and I was just like, yo, these motherfuckers is gliding like that and dancing like that and moving like that. I thought Michael Jackson was the only person that could do stuff like this. So I was just like, nah, this is definitely something. People don't know about this, you know? And so that's when I really knew that this was a special dance style. But like, when I got older, like around 16, 17, like I said, that's when I started to think, you know, I think I can do something with my life. I think it's something that we can make some of our lives with this. This one just got to be a hobby, you know, because that was the golden era. When I was like 17 was the golden era, I would say, of Memphis juking, when everybody was trying to put it on the map in Memphis, right? Like, you had people like this guy named Tarek Moore, who was an OG Memphis juker. He opened up the first juking academy, first juking school in Memphis. He saved all this money, opened up a juking school called You Dig Juking Academy. Wow. So we had the You Dig Juking Academy popping. We had Young Jay making juking DVDs, trying to get it out there. We had people on the news that wanted to bring us in to talk about Memphis juking and what we had in the city. So we was on the news doing interviews about the culture. Like, it was a moment when the culture was really getting, you know, some headway within the city and you know, outside the city as well. Like I said, on YouTube, people wanted to learn the style. People trying to people gravitating towards the style in other countries. And we knew that we had something special about it. And that's when I started to think, and I got with my cousin, I was like, man, we got to try to find a way to make something of this. And then I think we was just like subconsciously using the law of attraction, you know, in our favor, just like waking up every morning thinking about it and thinking about different ways, trying to think about different ways on how we gonna do it, and just telling all our friends who thought we was crazy in high school, man, we gonna be the first famous motherfuckers and coming out of this school with this dance shit, and then everybody like, get the hell out of here. And we like, all right, watch. But I think what really made me know that we had something special was when I was flown out to LA. For my first time flown out to LA, I was around like, I think I was 18 or something like that. I was like 18 years old, and this is when MySpace was popping still, you know? So like, it was this lady named Suzanne Lovejoy who reached out to me on MySpace because her daughter saw one of my first Memphis juking video that I put out on YouTube called Chopping Like That. She saw that, thought it was amazing, told her mom about it. Her mom, Suzanne Lovejoy, she was she had her own production company, her own and she was producing this. She had this artist under her company, and she wanted to do a music video for him. So she reached out to me on MySpace and was like, yo, my daughter showed me your videos. I think your dancing is phenomenal. I want to know if you're available to come out to LA to do a music video for one of my artists. For like, we'll fly you out for like 3 days. We're still working the kinks out, but you know, let us know. And it was a lot of stuff like that happening, but then people not coming through back in. But I just had a feeling about it. So I was like, all right, cool. But I ain't gonna do it unless you fly my cousin out. Because I was just like, because we was really hard on that. We was like, bro, we gonna do it together. We ain't gonna do it at all. Like, fuck it. Like, we was like that, like click tight. So like, she was like, okay, show me some of his stuff. And then I sent her his stuff and she was like, oh, hell yeah, I want both of y'all. So like, I was like, all right, bet. So we stayed in touch with her for about a half a year, bro, before like anything happened. And then she finally flew us out after that. And so I came out to LA with him for like 3 days to shoot this music video. And the reaction that we got from people, you know, out in LA with us doing our dance style, with us doing Memphis juking, the reaction was just crazy. We was just like unicorns in another world to them. You know what I'm saying? People were just like, what the fuck is this? How are y'all moving like that? Like, it was, because back then, like, honestly, I felt like that's when, like, you know, it was just like popping and b-boying. That was the thing. That was the street dance. That was the go-to street dances in LA, right? It was like popping, b-boying. And nobody was doing nothing like how we was doing it with Memphis juking. And Memphis juking, you know, we was able to do this to different types of music, you know, not just Memphis underground rap music, but any music that had a hard ass beat, you know, that was bumping. So we was out there slamming they shit, you know, just dancing. We was killing their music, and they just fell in love with it. And then, you know, me and my cousin, we fell in love with the women, with the weather, with everything out in LA. And then how they was just taking it in, like, yo, y'all got something. Like, everybody was just in our ear, like, I can't believe y'all can move the way y'all move. That's crazy. Y'all ain't never thought about doing this and that, or doing no commercials or getting signed with an agency and this and that. We was like, man, we ain't got none of that shit in Memphis. So like, it was so crazy actually on that set for the music video. Suzanne had to hire two other dancers, right? And they saw us and they was just like, the fuck you got us here for? These guys. And then they was like, nah, I don't want to be in a music video next to them. So they end up just being cool. They were just cool people though, but they were just like, nah, y'all got it, bro. Y'all got it. Y'all do it. Y'all, I don't want to be next to y'all. Y'all gonna make us look crazy. So like, but these two guys, they stayed in touch with us, and we just made them believers. They was just like, man, y'all gotta come out here in LA and do the damn thing. Y'all saying y'all ain't got no opportunities like that in Memphis. You gotta come out here in LA. Y'all take over. So like I stayed in touch with one of those guys, and that's when I stayed in touch with him for about a whole year, and then he ended up saying, you know what? I showed my fiance your videos. Me and her watch it every morning religiously, and you know, I just want to help you out, man. And if you want to come out here, you can stay with us. With me and my fiance, you can stay with us. All you gotta do is teach me a little beginner Memphis juking, you know, every morning, and that's it. You ain't gotta pay no rent or nothing. And then I was like, dang, that's crazy. Should I do it? Because,
oh my gosh.
because at that point in my life, I was like 19 years old. I had got into ballet because when I went back to Memphis, me and my cousin, we knew we had to do something. And for me, I was always trying to think ahead, like I didn't want to just be the best Memphis jukin'. I wanted to be one of the best dancers. Like I was just like one of those guys mentally. So I was just like, in order to do that, I got to learn different styles of dance. I got to learn how to do choreo. I got to learn how to do all this stuff that I'm in right now. So like I got into, you know, this ballet school out there, you know, took classes there, learned how to do ballet. I was a part of that company for about 3 years. And I started doing that when I was, I think I started doing that when I was 16. So I stayed with them for like 3 years doing that. And then within that ballet company, we was learning, like they was bringing people in from like the Martha Graham company to teach us. So we was learning from Twyla Tharp. So we was learning like modern, all type of shit within that little one umbrella. And at the same time, I was doing hip hop with Subculture Royalty, and I was juking. You know, I was going back, you know, with my homies in the streets and bumping. So I had all these different, you know, dance styles and cultures just being introduced to me. And I just let myself be a sponge to that. And I felt like I was ready. But then, you know, it was a thing where I was making good money at the ballet company too, because I had got a scholarship to take ballet, but at the same time, I was a company member. So I was a part of that company, and this guy offered me a one-way ticket to come to LA. And I was like, and we was getting ready for a big show. And she, you know, the company, you know, the artistic director of the ballet company, she flew this famous choreographer out from France or something like that to work with me or whatever. And I was just like, okay, should I just jet and dip? Or should I just stay with this, you know, just keep it going here comfortably with this, you know, because I'm making money, I'm doing this, I'm finally, you know, doing something with it. But it's not what I was, it wasn't what I was really passionate about. You know, just being a company member at a ballet company, it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to just go. And my mom, everybody was scared shitless, and they was like, what, you gonna do what? And I only had like $100 my mama gave me, you know, and I just made that move. And I only knew that guy from like 3 days, and kept in touch with him for a year. And then I just, you know, took that leap of faith and took that big risk.
That's wild.
And moved out to LA, and that was the beginning of it. I had to start all over, you know, with the grind. But that was the beginning of that grind. And I feel like, I know I probably got, you know, went off course, but I feel like, I feel like in that story, like what I got from that was just like, man, we just got to take risks, and you got to invest in yourself, and you got to take risk. You know what I'm saying? You can't really play it safe if you want to if you got big dreams and you want to make them come true. You just got to go for that shit.
No, man, that's a captivating story, you know, and, you know, context for everybody who still is sleeping under a rock and doesn't know Lil Buck. You're one of the most celebrated movers out in the game in general. I'm not talking about just Memphis juking. Like, again, there's not a lot of dancers out there that are going to be doing like a collab with Versace. You know, I mean, you went to like the highest echelon of things like fashion and high class luxury industry stuff that like you don't normally associate, you know what I mean, with things like dance and let alone the hip hop conversation or juking or anything like that. What I find interesting or really captivating is that the story, whether it be like popping or breaking or anything like that stylistically, it is similar to a lot of things that maybe have been in the realm of conversation for aspiring, dreaming dancers, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be like, you know, just putting themselves out there, like meeting some of their idols at some sort of jam in a parking lot or whatever, and actually trying their best to like getting that acceptance into a community, but then taking it seriously and actually going to like OG's houses and doing what you got to do to like put in the work for years at a time until you're respected, battling everybody in their neighborhoods, and then taking a leap of faith to move to LA. Like those are all kind of variables of stories that I feel like many dancers around the world, even dancers who listen and follow us, they hear that, and that's kind of a roadmap. But, you know, the few that actually make it do something very, very fundamentally different. And like you said, it's the ones that truly invest in themselves and then take giant leaps of faith and risk. And like that, I feel like is a true measure of difference of what got you where you are versus just another dancer who might be really good or like has found themselves a similar storyline, but maybe they just didn't take a big enough risk. Maybe they didn't invest enough into themselves. Maybe they didn't work hard enough in the same passion and fire, because your story sounds familiar, but what you've been able to accomplish is not familiar. It's very rare. It's very unfamiliar. It's very unique. Very like something is super inspiring. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it captivating to me. The fact that it's a familiar story, but one of like the highest levels of success in example that I've seen. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm almost trying to like, myself as a dancer too, I'm looking at you, I'm like, what's the difference? What did this guy do? You know what I mean? That like got to those places.
But you know what? I feel like people do this all the time in different dance styles too. But what I love about Memphis Jukin is that this is a dance style that you have to find who you uniquely are within that dance style for people to respect you. You know, you can't look like the next person or you will not get any respect. And in a lot of different other dance styles that have more, that's a bit, you know, a lot of other different street dance styles that's a bit more formal or you know, just have a lot, you know, like popping, for example. Like there's a, you know, it's like you can make a book about popping and learn, you know what I'm saying? It has that, you know, popping has that style of popping. It has, you know, that formula and it has that those fundamentals that make it what it is. But I feel like within that, a lot of people find their different styles within pop. You know, some people find them who you are uniquely within popping, but like there's also some of those people, and I'm just using it as an example, right?
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of people that would say that's not the right way to pop. You got to pop like Pete, or you got to pop like this, or you got to hit like this, or you got to do it like this, you know? And in Memphis Jukin, I feel like we ain't have none of that. You know, you just had to, it was just like, all right, here go the basic fundamentals. Good luck. Whatever you do with it, you just got to do it. And you got to make yourself unique at it. And you got to make motherfuckers go crazy when you dance. Or we ain't gonna respect. You got to make us feel something, you know?
Yeah.
So if we ain't have nobody saying, nah, bro, you got to look like Daniel. Or you got to look like G-Nerd. Or you got to move like this. Or you got to do like that. It was just like, they go to gangster walk, they go to L step, they go to push toe, point toe, they go all these different fundamentals. Now, all right, good luck. And then, so for me, I had to discover, a lot of what jukers are thinking is, how do I separate myself from another juker? That's the main thing for us. So I'm thinking like, okay, cool. I got some flexibility. My ankles are a bit flexible. Maybe I can use that within my style, or maybe I can do something to, you know, and we train. So I trained hard within that. And there's a lot of dancers and jukers in Memphis that train hard within that thing that they can call, you know, that they've made unique for themselves.
I want to dive into that because I know your ankles is crazy. Yeah. Like, you need to have like an insurance plan for your ankles, you know, separate one ankle and then the other. Like that's an infamous thing about your ankle, whether it's over your head or just broken the other way, or you're spinning on it for, you know, whatever it is, your ankles are crazy. When you say I trained hard, or like one, how did you discover that about yourself? And then two, what did you do to super saiyan that about yourself? Because that, like, again, same thing. What you're saying with, you know, whether it be popping or breaking, like dance, respectfully, the way I grew up learning things like breaking and popping were of similar nature to the ethos of things like Memphis Jukin. You get your foundation, but you still got to stand
like,
out.
Good luck. You got to stand out, right?
So I just feel like you're probably in a more niche version and culture of that, which I think is super dope. But again, connecting the dots to what actually makes that a successful concept to somebody, and really them finding out that this is the thing that makes them unique. I need to dive deeper into it so that people recognize how unique this thing is. Like for you, probably something with your ankles. Yeah. How did you discover that? And then what were you doing in your mind? What is trained hard? Because whatever it is that you say is trained hard, everybody should freaking listen, because that's what it took. Because you
Yeah.
obviously did something with it.
Well, how I discovered my ankle flexibility and was it was kind of weird, man. I used to just have one thing that I knew how to do, right? You know how different people can just do weird things with their bodies,
Sure,
or some people
yeah.
can just do. So like I could,
Almost
bend
like
both of my ankles in. I don't even know what that move is called.
almost like it's double jointed, but it's
yeah,
just,
but I had a thing where I can like I don't even know how to describe it. I was standing something like a first position or something for those who know what that is, and then I would
Yeah.
just like I would do this hop forward and my ankles could come in. Like my knees were super flexible to where my ankles could come in past like that first, position or whatever. And I used to just do that for fun as a kid. Like I used to just run around and do it in the house. So when I was just in training, as far as me, it was just like I had a carport. Like in Memphis, you can train in a garage, a carport, or out there in a parking lot or something like that. So like I was under my carport with a lot of different friends that I had in my neighborhood that were, that could do the style a little bit too. So we would just train together. And what I would always think of was just like, how can I set myself apart? And then it just came to me like I was doing some Memphis. I was juking a little bit, and then I would just like throw that little ankle flexibility little move within it, and then I went from that to actually thinking about, and I just started to break down the different things that I could do. Like I would break down that move, like, okay, I could do that move. How can I make that a little better? Like, how can I make that a little crazier? So I would be like, oh, maybe I could do it. Maybe let me try that with one foot, instead of doing both of my feet like that. Let me try to do that with one foot. And then I would do something like that with one foot. And then I would find out that I can hold that, I can hold that for a while. So I was like, oh, I can hold that position for a little minute. Let me see how long I can hold that position. So I would like bend my ankle in and try to balance, on the side of my toe in that position. And then I would find out that, oh damn, I can. That's kind of cool. I ain't never seen nobody do that. And then I would just keep going within that. Like, okay, how can I do something with that? Can I? And I would just start mixing different moves in with that. And then I would be like, okay, let me see if I can turn with my ankle. If I can turn with my ankle in that position. So I would do these different turns with my ankle in that position. And I would just steadily just try to find ways to innovate that one move. And then it just blossomed into other things. B-boys, a lot of people do that, right? When they're just building on what's already, on the fundamentals and how they can make that unique for them. Like I was just building on that move until like I had a whole variety of different things I can do with my ankle flexibility. And then I'll wake up sore as hell and I'll be like, okay, I gotta find a way to, maybe I should strengthen my ankles. But this came from like different information I got from taking ballet too. I'd be like, oh, they working on a shit. They finding ways to strengthen they Achilles and strengthen their calves and all that stuff every day. Like we do this naturally just in street dance, but they had a regiment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That they got to focus on. And I know like we have a regiment that we don't really focus on the time period of how long we doing it. It's just like throughout the day we're dancing for this long. But they had a regiment where they just knew religiously every day they're gonna wake up and work on this shit. Every day they're gonna wake up and work on this shit. So that's why I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do that with my shit. I'm gonna wake up every morning and I'm gonna try to find ways to, how can I make my ankles stronger? How can I make my knees stronger? Because I'm feeling it. I feel where it's all connected. So I would literally build my own regiments for my flexibility. So I would hold a wall and I would stand in that position where my ankles bent inward on the side of my foot. And then I would just like hold it and see if I can hold it. I would like be tapping the wall a little bit and I would just hold it for like a whole song. And then I would just come down and just give myself a break, start dancing a little bit. And then I would just do that again. I would just build these regiments for myself. And then eventually, once it got a bit stronger, I would do these things I call ankle ups, where like I would hold my ankle in this broken, like kind of flexible position and then flat down. And I would see if I can lift my ankle off the ground, from that flexible position. And I would keep doing those,
like a push-up,
but with my ankles,
yeah.
And my body weight. So I would just do those, and that would help me build that helped me build the strength in my ankles and in my in my knee, in my knees as well. And yeah, I just started to build on that. But it was just but in that, I would just say it was consistency, man. I was consistent as shit with that. Like I literally couldn't stop. Like I was obsessed. You just got to be obsessed with like that, with innovating in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and finding the best version of you, you know, as you possibly can. And so I was just obsessed with it. And I kept working on it and kept working on it. And it went from that to like, okay, I'm going to adopt this for everything else. I can glide, you know, we got these glides. How can I make this glide unique to me? How can I make up a certain pattern of how to glide that I don't really see out there? So I started trying to find different patterns to glide. And, you know, I just adapted that whole idea towards like a lot of different things that I would do within that dance style. And then, you know, I made, you know, in all that I made, you know, the style that's specific to me, that stands out a lot. But for me, as far as success with that, I would just say, man, it's the passion I put into that, and it's that consistency that I kept. You know, it's that you know, that persistence and consistency I kept with training, that persistence in knowing I had something special to offer, and I won't give up until, you know, people know me as the best because of what I can do, and that confidence I had in myself. But it was all, and it's just, you know, that passion that I put into the dance. Like I was dancing like I was gonna die tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like every time I go out there, I put my fucking heart into every move I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because I wanted people to feel that shit. You know, because I had to fight so long to get the respect, you know, of different people that I wanted that respect from, that I had to like put every ounce of me in there, you know, in what I was doing for them to feel it. And I feel like that's how people felt me. You know what I'm saying? When people see me, they see the passion I'm putting into my dance. They see how different it is, and they see how and feel how confident I am within that. And I feel like all those different things people are feeling when they see me perform. And for me, it was just, like I said before, using the law of attraction in my favor. Like, you know, like things will happen in your life where you probably don't even know that, you know, there are signs of, you know, if you're focused on something on a goal that you have, like my goal was, and my main mission was to put Memphis Jukin on the map, and was to show everybody what it was, but it's also to be one of the best dancers, you know? And so when you have a goal like that, and you're always thinking towards that goal, and that's all you have in your atmosphere and in your mind is like that goal and accomplishing that goal, there's certain things that you'll start to attract in your life, and certain things that'll come your way if you're persistent enough to keep going, whether you don't see those things, whether those things don't come or not yet. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of time before those things will come your way. Different opportunities, like the opportunity of being flown out to LA. I could have said, nah, I'm good. It was a whole bunch of people bullshitting me back in the day. Why should I take you serious? You know, but I took that chance. I took that opportunity and said, you know what? Regardless of if I feel like I'm ready or not, I'm gonna go. And then another opportunity came with somebody that I only met for 3 days on set of a music video, who was a fan. And I stayed in touch with, said I can move with him and his fiance. And they lived in the hood. They lived on Crenshaw, like Crenshaw and Adams or something. And I was like, okay, I don't know these people. And I ain't got no money. But I feel like this opportunity won't come again. So I got to take that opportunity, you know. And I did it, not knowing what was going to be in front of me, not knowing how hard it was going to be for me. And then when I did it, you know, I just, you know, I didn't let anything demotivate me or change my thoughts on what I wanted to happen and what in my dreams and how I was going to make that possible. Like that was impenetrable, you know, that those, you know, that feeling I had and of me accomplishing my dreams was just impenetrable. Like I was just an unstoppable force mentally when it came to that. So like nobody couldn't tell me nothing, no matter who you were. You know, you couldn't tell me I wasn't gonna do this. And And that caused my persistent, I was just super persistent with that. And so like things started to attract itself. Next thing Suzanne found out that I was living out there. I didn't even tell her. And then she ended up moving me with her. And I went from Crenshaw to living on, California and 3rd over there in Santa Monica or whatever, by the beach. And I'm like, damn, she moved me in with her. And then she got me signed to an agency. I went over there and I showed my ass, I went crazy, and got signed to an agency. And then he booked me on an audition. I just went hard in that audition. You know what I'm saying? I just, like, all these different opportunities that presented themselves, I just jumped on it. Yeah. I jumped on it and don't get me wrong, it was still hard. It was a lot of times where, and even in Memphis, it was hard. It was times where I was struggling in Memphis. I didn't have a job. The only job I had was working at McDonald's, and I only did that for like I only did that enough time to get my first paycheck, and then I was out of there. I was like, I can't do this shit. I can't do this shit. So like I got one paycheck from them, and I was like, all right, I'm out. I can't do this. And then so I was just grinding, y'all. I was grinding my ass off, but I never gave up. I could have been like, man, this shit ain't gonna do nothing. And it was years of that. What I would say is patience. Have patience with yourself and be a sponge, man, to the world and to like that. What's going to bring you to your goals? Try to find out what's going to take for you to get there, and be a sponge to life, and be open to learning whatever you need to learn to get there, to take those extra steps to get in there. And that's pretty much what I was, man. And all these things kind of unfolded, but like it was hard. Like I said, like we don't have street performing in Memphis. So to make ends meet, as a dancer out there, when you ain't got no job, we was trying to go to Beale Street, and we didn't know nothing about street performing, but the Beale Street Flippers, they run that. They street perform out there. They famous for that. And they wouldn't let you flip on their block. They'd jump your ass. So like we had to be at the last end of Beale Street, where almost nobody was out there, and we didn't know that people can have amplifiers and generators and stuff like that, and you could just play music on your own. We ain't know nothing about that shit. They were just playing live blues music out there on Beale Street, and we would just go out there and start fucking dancing to that shit. We would just slamming to that, and we literally would just make like probably like $20 tips the whole day we was dancing. And we would just buy a joint with that money and go brainstorm on how we gonna make this shit happen. But we was just working at. You got to keep working at that, man. You got to keep working at what's gonna get you to that next level. And for us, it was making it out of Memphis. And then after we made it out of Memphis, it was just going hard, showing people why we are who we are. And you got to stay consistent. You got to have a certain level of drive to do that. Because it was hard being in LA. It was moments where I was going back and forth from staying with different people. After I moved from Don's place, the guy who flew me out, to Suzanne Lovejoy's place. And then, I didn't want to live off of her. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to become, a man and start taking care of myself. I got introduced to street performing. I was street performing on 3rd Street Promenade, saving up money to fly out my boys. I was like, all right, Ron, I'm going to fly you out here no matter what. Flew him out. And we had a little rinky-dink 1-bedroom apartment on Lankershim in Sherman Way, I think, or something like that. And flew my boys out one at a time. Flew my boy Caviar out. So I had my own circle of Memphis Jookers, people that we can feed off of and just fuel each other. I started flying people out one by one, and next thing you know, it was like 5 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment grinding, but we all had that same vision, that same dream. So like, you got to just be around like-minded people, man, and don't let anything steer you away from that goal or what you want to do, what you want to accomplish in life, and take them opportunities when they come. And train your ass off. Like when I trained, like I told you, that's how I was training. But I was dancing and doing all that from sun up to sundown. You know what I'm saying? Like it was literally all day, an all day thing for me. Like I didn't do nothing else. I ain't had no job. I ain't had shit. So like I was just my mama's carport dancing from noon to midnight, damn near, for real though.
Right.
Like
Man, there's so much that I'm like just getting from you, and I think
Please cut me off too, because I can just
no.
run
I
on
want-
and talk
man.
my
I
ass off.
wanted you to just to open it up and just go where you wanted to go, but I feel like there's a few things that really stick out to me about. I don't even know why this was like so interesting to me. Like your risk and even be like, yo, I'm gonna take ballet and I'm gonna be in this ballet company, because that seems
Yep.
random, right? If you're kind of used to like a certain dance style that you're comfortable with, and you kind of like, yeah, this is the thing that I want to
Hanging
do.
around thugs and all this other shit.
Yeah,
And you're like,
and
you
then
know what?
all
I'm
of
gonna
a
take
sudden,
ballet.
all of a sudden,
Yeah.
ballet comes in,
It's
and
a
you're
little
like,
bit of a stretch.
right? And like, but for you, the focus was, I want to be the best dancer in the world. So like, if it's this style or that, unless I know the style, I'm not going to become the best dancer in the world. I got to know as many styles as becomes available to me. And so there's almost this level of like, your ego can tell you something like, that's not what I want to do. You know, I'm going to do this, but you're like, nope, I'm going to do that. I'm gonna become really good at that, to the point. I mean, you got a scholarship, so I'm assuming you were pretty really good at ballet as well. And I think, you know, as you're talking about focus and consistency and persistence, I think it seems like there was a point where you were like, this is it, it's dance, and I'm gonna do everything I can to become the best dancer I can. And you didn't let things distract you. Like, you know, you could easily be like, maybe I should go, you know, get a job in this industry, whatever, because that's the safe route. I mean, you know, Anthony was talking a little about earlier about taking risks and things like that. I think when you find the thing that you are just like, man, this is what my life's goal is supposed to be, and it's just this, you'll do whatever it takes to get that, which involves a lot of risks, right? You saying yes to that phone call to come out to LA, that was a risk, because it could have not worked out. It could have just been a whole bad situation for you to come out here and then really just kind of, all right, I'm going to be out here. And then you working, saving up money, not to, you know, take care of yourself, but like, I'm going to save up enough money so I can fly my boys out. Like, that's a risk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're taking risk after risk after risk. But it's because for you probably weren't looking at it as like, but what if this doesn't work out? You're probably like, no, this is what I'm going to do. My focus is, you were like laser sharp focus, where even the things that seemed a little like, I don't know where this is going to go, but where it's going to go doesn't really matter, because you're just like, this is what my whole like life's purpose is to just to be the best dancer you can be. But also you have this passion to put Memphis Jukin on the map. Like, you said that, right? You talk about law of attraction and things like that. You know, obviously law of attraction, just because you think about something all the time doesn't magically make something pop up.
Make it pop up.
It points your focus in a place where all of your actions are now going towards what you're focusing on.
Exactly.
So when you put a lot of massive action into anything, and then that's consistent, so compounded over time, that massive action is going to get you the thing that you want. Because like you're saying, if you're going sun up to sun down, there's no way you're going to put so much practice into something and not see the results. Like, consistency is everything, right? Like, going to the gym once doesn't get you anything, but you do that every single day, you're going to build muscle. You're going to, you know, you're going to gain strength. You're going to see the results of it. And so like, what I'm just receiving from you is like, dude, a ton of your passion, but I'm just like, man, this dude is really focused on what he wants. And that's why I feel like, and we haven't even gotten into all the amazing,
crazy stuff,
the amazing work that you've done, man.
But I'm
like,
gonna tell you just on some real shit that I probably never share with anybody. So this is like my first time actually talking about this. Growing up in Memphis, like I said, I had ADHD. I felt like, and then I didn't feel like I belonged for a while before I got into juking and stuff like that. And you know, used to get bullied and all this stuff, but used to get in fights, all the other stuff like that. But I failed my grade. I failed I think I failed 10th grade because of how unfocused I was in school. And you know, honestly, growing up and even being in LA for a while, like even in my early 20s, but actually growing up in Memphis, like around my 14, 15, 16, all that stuff, I thought I was dumb, bro. I honestly just thought I was stupid. And I thought that I didn't know enough to excel or at anything else. I felt like the thing I knew most was dance.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if I don't know shit else, I know how to fucking dance. Mm-hmm. So this is where I'm gonna put my time and efforts into, because this is where I know who I am. You know what I'm saying? And I know what I can do. And can't nobody ever tell me shit about shit else otherwise, you know, because I know the effect I have on myself, on people when they see me dance and all of this. So like, if I was too stupid to hold a conversation with you about anything else, or to learn what I had to learn in school, you know, and I had to work my ass off to graduate. But even then, I didn't know what my next move was going to be, because I felt like I wasn't smart enough to go to college. I felt like I wasn't smart enough to do a lot of these different things. But I did feel like I was, and that was just me, you know, as a kid, just, you know, being hard on myself, because you know, I'll never blame my parents or nothing like that, because my mom had to work a whole bunch of jobs, but I used to when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to be like, fuck, why come my parents aren't the type of parents, or my mom ain't the type of mom that just teach me life lessons, or teach me how to do this, or teach me how to do taxes, or teach me how to do that? Because they didn't have time. My mama didn't personally have time for that shit. Mm-hmm. She had to fight to put food on the table and to keep a roof over our heads. And it was like 4 of us in the house. At one point it was 6 of us, because I got 3 younger brothers on my dad's side. That's a whole nother story. But like I said, I felt like I didn't learn enough in life at the age I was at when I was dancing. And I feel like everybody around me was smarter than me. But so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be the best dancer. I bet I'm gonna be the most talented motherfucker around anybody that's around me. So like I was laser focused in that, because that's literally all I felt I had. Mm-hmm. That's all I felt I had. Yeah. You know, in life in general. And if I didn't have that, then I wouldn't be shit. I felt like I'd just be nothing. I would just be lifeless, just floating around on earth. And so I had to put everything into that, because that was it.
I could relate to that a lot too. I think for me too, growing up, I wasn't a straight A student by any means. I was failing my classes and all that. I also thought I was dumb too. And I think, you know, when, especially as kids growing up, you know, we're so trained to think that your letter grades in school determine how smart you are, and how well you're going to succeed in life. Like, are you getting A's or are you getting like C's and D's? Like that somehow we think that like that means I'm either smart or I'm dumb, or I'm going to be successful or I'm going to be a failure. Mm-hmm. And I think like, you know, when you can tap into the thing, you need just one. You don't need a bunch of things. All you need is like the one thing in life that if you could just laser focus on that one thing. And for me, I don't even think it was like clear to me that it was dance for me either. Because I mean, I didn't start dancing till I was like 16, 17. And even at that, it was like, it was cool, it was fun. And like, you know, I didn't really like go into it until I got into college. But like, I think once I started to realize, hey, like once I really focus on doing something and just being consistent with it, like I am going to get good at that. And so like, you know, going back to the whole feeling dumb, and I want to emphasize that because I'm sure there's people out there that struggle with those types of thoughts. But like, you know, you don't need to be smart or be talented in ways that you feel like you're quote unquote supposed to. You know what I mean? Because there is no roadmap to anything, whether it's dance, whether it's sports, or whether it's freaking, you know, painting pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is that you want to just put your focus into, but like you said, the emphasis on consistency and persistence and just being obsessive about it. Like that's the thing that all you need to do is find that one thing, and then you'll see the growth in that. Yeah. And like, I think just as you're talking about, you know, you sort of breaking all kinds of barriers for yourself, you know what I'm saying? And like, even, you know, we hadn't even gotten into all the dope stuff that you've done, and some of the videos that I've seen from you that like, you know, blending these, you know, street styles of dance with high art, and like, it's like this juxtaposition of something that's on some level like considered to be like, all right, this is like, you know, for lack of a better term, like lower brow art, and then you're like in like, you know, museum of contemporary art, and like, you know, the sounds of music that are kind of fused with street styles of dance, and it's like, man, this is art, you know what I'm saying? And so like, was there any level of a consciousness that you were like, I want to just keep pushing the boundaries of what my art can be, to even how hip hop or Memphis Jukin, or just even what you personally do as a mover? Like, was there any conscious level of like, I want to keep breaking barriers and keep breaking stereotypes of what people think this thing is?
Yeah, there was actually, absolutely. Because like I said, when I started to, you know, be introduced to so many different dance styles and cultures and things, right? Then I started to learn a lot more about it. And, you know, it wasn't until I saw Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and what they were doing with dance, right? And Nicholas Brothers and what these guys were doing with dance. And, you know, I started to pay attention, like, these guys are fucking incredible. You know, like they were like super,
Right.
that was the era of superstars of dance, where these guys were dance, you know, that was that era where dance wasn't behind the artist, right?
Yeah.
The dancers were known and highlighted
Right.
as that artist, and they were respected in that way. You know, you got Earl Snake Hips Tucker, you know, all the way back in the day, he was respected for what he did. You know, Buck and Bubble. I mean, you know, the tap dancers, you know, you got all these different amazing people that were respected, highly respected for what they did. And I started to try to dissect that, and I was like, damn, what's the difference between what these guys were doing and what we're doing right now in street dance? And I looked at Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, I looked at Nicholas Brothers and these guys, and I was like, okay, first of all, they suited to the nine. These motherfuckers is fresh. Second of all, they're creating different ways of expressing themselves through movement. You know, not just out there dancing, but they're out there, you know, making short films or creating concepts and stories around their movement in special ways, right? Like Gene Kelly, I don't know if it was Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, I forget, embarrassingly, but one of them did something with this newspaper, right? And they was dancing with this newspaper where he was tap dancing, and then he would split the newspaper, and he just kept going. You know, they were doing crazy, just like creative things and telling creative stories with what they were doing with their vernacular. And I was just like, man, I want to start doing that. I want to start creating, you know, I want to just show people, you know, more of what this is. And I started thinking about how can I do that? Now, how can I set myself, you know, aside from other people in dance doing that? And then I started thinking about how can I make myself an artist like that? Like, how can I be perceived as an artist like that? Because I know a lot of dancers, you know, as time went on, it went from those superstars of dance to dancers, you know, supporting other, you know, artists and stars, which is, you know, it's no knock to that at all. I support it. I'm a full supporter of that too. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't like a collaboration. Like, if you see Gene Kelly first said, they're going to collaborate with an artist in this day, you know, time. They won't be dancing behind an artist. They're going to be collaborating with this artist. Yeah. So that was always that. So that started to be my mindset in my mind. You know, I was just like, okay, how can I get people to respect what I do in my craft, but as an artist, not as, you know, just a regular background dancer. And I think that thought came into my mind when I did my first music video out here in LA. So in Memphis, everybody in Memphis really, like I said, we didn't have a lot of access. So like, we used to think background dancers made millions of dollars. Honestly, we would be at home watching TV, and we'd be like, me and my boys would be like, why the fuck is this dancer in this video with them? I know I can juke way better than they dance and blah, blah, blah. But then we'd also see these dancers with the artists, and they would be fresh. You know what I'm saying? They'd be fresher than nine. They'd be dancing next to them. Like, they just living their best life. You're like, man, these folks getting paid thousands of dollars just dancing next to this person, and they not even as good as us. And like, so that was us back in Memphis. So like, we used to think they was balling, right? And then I came out to LA and got that reality, you know, when I did my first music video that
We're dancing out here is broke as hell.
we broke as a bitch. They broke it in I wasn't
LA just
broke.
teaches you how to fake it till you make it real good.
But like, so I came out and I think my first music video was Prom Queen, Lil Wayne, Prom Queen music video. That was my first introduction into being a background dancer and living that life. And I was excited. And then I went from excited to what the fuck is going on, because we was waiting like 13 hours for us to shoot one scene, which was crazy. They was just like unorganized, but and it was all for $100.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I'm staying here. What is going on? We doing all this for $100? And then you don't even get seen in the video, but for like a little flash of a second. And then I'm just like, I can't do this forever. It was like, it reminded me of when I was working at McDonald's. I was just like, I had these different.
Well, you could buy 5 joints with that $100. You know what I mean? A game plan the next day. That's all.
But I was just like, this ain't the life that I thought it was gonna be. I gotta try to find a way to make, you know. And then that's when I started thinking, like, man, you know what? And then, you know, I would watch these other superstars and dance, like I said, and that's when those thoughts would come into my brain, like, yo, that's the difference. We gotta bring that era back where like we're respected in our own rights as artists. And I was like, how can we do that? How can I do that for myself at least? So that's when I started to take, those thoughts into consideration and actually moving on that. I was just like, okay, cool. And I was street performing at the time. So I was just like, okay, cool. I can't be out here in sweatpants and blah, blah, blah and whatever. I got to actually try to invest into some clothes and actually look good and look decent so people can, I don't know, just so I can have that image where people to respect, just like how Fred Astaire and how Nicholas Brothers and these guys were when they would put their stuff out. And then I was just like, okay, cool. How can I need to start thinking of different ways I can create with this. And then for me, it was just the power of collaboration. I've like when I knew the power of me juking and doing that street dance back in Memphis with that ballet company. And, we'd go out to different schools and they would play classical music and I would juke to it and the kids would go fucking nuts and it would be life changing for them. So I would do things like that. I would just work on that. But then what happened was I performed a swan in, the Dying Swan. I performed to that song back in Memphis first. And that got recorded. It was for a school, an outreach program we did with the ballet company. And that where I recorded. And next thing you know, when I was living in LA, fast forward to me living in LA, Damian Wetzel, he was over the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities when Obama was in office, and they had a whole committee on the arts and education and arts and humanities, and Yo-Yo Ma was a part of that committee. And then Damien saw that video of me dancing to the swan, and he was just like, I want to pair these two together. I want to pair Yo-Yo Ma with this kid. I think that could be something that's, that just sparks people's brains and just, maybe, blends these two totally different worlds and totally different cultures and into one. And I think they can create something dope with it. So like he reached out to me and we made that happen. And, that blew up and the world just took that in like, damn, this is something special. And that's when I was like, okay, cool. Like these people seeing me as artists, you know what I'm saying? When I perform to this or when I do this or when I just shift the perspective from like what people originally perceive what can be done with street dance, you know what I'm saying? Not just the street music, but when I dance to other vernaculars of music or when I collaborate with other different artists in this way. Because there was a collaboration. I wasn't dancing behind Yo-Yo. We were collaborating. So I was just like, oh, I got to collaborate with different artists to show people that this is what it is. I got to create art in different ways and think innovatively on how I can put my art out there, put my dancing out there to show people that it's more than what it is. So that's when my thoughts started going into that world. And, it really took off with me, just genre bending between, what I did in street dance with Memphis juking and in classical music. So that really started to take off. Then people started to appreciate it. Then people started to make offers about me performing to the Swan or something that I've never knew was possible. Like I was getting paid crazy amounts of money just to perform the Swan. And I was just like, is that it? Is all y'all wanted me to do was dance to a classical song and then y'all would actually perceive that as art? That's fucked up. Because I'm not doing nothing different. I'm not doing no ballet movements. I'm juking. But the thing was, I started to break that down like, okay, cool. They just don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? So they don't know how to, you know, how to, people came up to me after that performance was like, oh my God, how long have you been, you know, formally trained or this and that? When I wasn't doing no ballet pirouettes. I wasn't doing none of that stuff, right? I was juking, doing my thing. But when I started to think about, okay, it was the way that I let the music move me, you know, in that certain, like, I just became, for me, my whole approach to dance is to be a sponge of whatever's music, you know, I'm dancing to, and to let that speak to how I move, right? And so like with classical music, it kind of slows it down. So and with the Swan, you know, it's a very elegant song. So I wanted to feel elegant. I wanted to feel light. It was a light song that felt light, a song that felt elegant. It was a song about a swan's last moments living. I wanted to emotionally bring all of that out, and that was started to be my approach to movement. Like just, you know, how can I bring the best out of this music I'm dancing to? How can I tell that story, you know, as in depth as possible with my movement? And I started to do that and started to be more vulnerable with my movement. And a lot of people, you know, started to really, you know, gravitate towards that. And in that, I just adapted that to anything I was doing, and, you know, in life in general, the different collaborations and people I danced to, the music I danced to, and people started to just like gravitate towards my approach on art. And then all these opportunities just started to come.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's something that as you're talking about perception of what is art, right? And like oftentimes it's either something that's disruptive, like you're kind of disrupting something, or you're kind of making people feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it's like it always rides that edge of like, what is this? The reason why even the disruptiveness of it is interesting is because it makes you feel something. Like it's like, ooh, this is like, I'm used to this, but I'm not, you know, like it's familiar enough, but it's different. And for you, you know, it's something that like I can just see, even just the passion that you have towards what you do as a mover, you're bringing that element to it, right? And like I think that's the thing that people see in you, is the uniqueness of not only your movement ability and the ways that you're able to do things that people can only, you know, imagine, but like you're being willing to pair that and collaborate with things that people would not necessarily like jump to be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, you're working on a bunch of, you know, dope projects right now. You're working on stage shows, and you know, you're working with Nike with your Memphis Jukin shows that you guys are doing, the live stage shows. Yeah. You know, so with like all the things that like I mean, going back to even from when you were out in Memphis to just kind of like dreaming of like, yo, I'm gonna get out of Memphis and I'm gonna just become the best dancer in the world. There is this like, and then you working at McDonald's be like, no, this is not it. This is not the path. You know, even you dancing in a music video for $100, like, okay, that's not the path. But like, you have a path. You have this like place that you're taking yourself, because I think as you're even talking, like you're sort of experimenting, right? You try something and you realize, no, that's not it. But then you're continually trying more and more things, exactly, right? Yep. And like you're taking these sort of like, you know, you're taking what works and then leaving behind what doesn't, and then you're finding your way along your path. And this path that like you're on, right? The concept of success, that we all want to succeed in life. oftentimes that involves career, oftentimes that involves, you know, relationships and your own personal health and things like that. So with everything, with where you're at in your own life, in your journey right now, how would you define success in terms of where you're at now to where you feel like you want to go eventually?
For me personally, is being able to continue to make my dreams come true, and to be able to continue to try to reach the goals that I have personally in life, and to have the opportunity to actually try to do these things. That's honestly, personally, success for me. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I came from Jack's Dilly Squad. So
Yeah.
I was just like, even to have this opportunity to be able to continuously try and be a sponge and find out what works for me and what doesn't work for me, you know, and reaching my goals and continuously do that and be able to still stay afloat. That's success for me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's an ongoing life of it. Like, it's not like, I don't define success as this one thing that I've done.
Right.
Like of accomplishing this one goal, because in accomplishing one goal, you develop another, and then you develop another, and you develop another, because we grow as individuals. We grow, you know, every day. So, and every day we grow, these thoughts and these goals grow into something else, you know, because you learn more about yourself, and you learn that, oh, I might want this, or I think I want this out of life, or I'm at that point where I need this, you know. And so it's a continuous growth, and continuous growth, you have continuously growing goals, and success is on that same trajectory for me. It's a never ending thing. It's not a thing that happens once something is done. You know, it's like I feel like I'm constantly defining my success, I guess, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
The more I keep persistent, and the more I keep going at it, and at my goals. And I think just having the opportunity to be able to take that on is my definition of success right now. And, you know, once I reach that goal of like, and I feel like I haven't slowed down, and I'm still going just as hard as I was going before, because I still haven't gotten there yet. You know, I'm still working towards that goal of being known as one of the best dancers ever. And still working, and I'm probably going to be working on that till the day I die, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to stop. And I'm still working towards the world appreciating Memphis Jukin in the light that I think it should be appreciated in, you know, as an art form. And you know, in that same kind of, you know, in that same way that people perceive ballet as art, or modern dance as art, or these other forms of movement, you know, being a vernacular that came from the streets, I think that gives it even more, you know, reason why we can call it an art, you know, and not just something that people throw in a box like, oh, that's street dance, but this here is art. Or this is fun. You know, I'm still working on changing people's perception of street dance in general and of Memphis Jukin. So like within those two big goals, I'm still developing other goals to meet. And I feel like that's success for me, to even be able to do that, because, you know, a lot of people don't have that opportunity to do that, you know, in this world. And a lot of people feel like they don't have that opportunity to do that. And I feel like just me, and, you know, knowing where I came from, growing up with certain friends that could have thought the same way, but didn't, or could have, you know, fought for what they really wanted in life, but really didn't, you know, I feel like for me to put so much into it, and for me to, you know, I feel like it's a blessing for me to even, you know, have that mind frame and that mindset to keep going, and to not give up on myself, you know, it always makes it worth it for me. And that's why I continuously put in 100% effort. And, you know, no matter how slow things get in my life or my career, or no matter what levels it take me, it's all a part of that same journey and mission, you know, that mission. And that's what keeps that fire burning for me as well, because I'm 34 now, and that was a goal and mission of mine when I was, you know, when I was about 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And it's taking me on so many different levels. Like you said, it's a lot of ups, but it's a lot of downs too. It's a lot of just sitting. It's a lot of that trajectory just being set in one place in no movement. There's a lot of that. And especially with this next generation of movers and dancers right now, that's just changing the game. And this next generation of like how, you know, what people want, you know what I'm saying, out of life, like work wise too, you know, like in this industry that we working in right now as dancers, in this dance industry, you know, after COVID, after everything like that, a lot of people just want that, you know, what they can get, you know, that quick, you know, or that trendy thing, right? You know, but you still got people that really appreciates art and appreciates the time and effort that people put into their work and their craft. So, you know, so I'm always, you know, gonna be fighting that fight. And but it's a long road, man. It's a long road full of ups and downs. And yeah,
I think what you're talking about is, I mean, it's the journey, right? Because you said you're never gonna arrive and be like, cool, like I'm done, like I can hang it up now and I've reached success. You're just gonna keep going, because you said once you get one goal, you're gonna have another one, and once you get that one, you're gonna have another one. Like it's that constant ride of the journey rather than the destination, right?
Yeah, so that's why I say I don't see success as being arrived at that destination. I see success as being in tandem with that journey. Like I'm experiencing success in everything I do, even the failures, you know, even the things that don't happen. You know what I'm saying? That's all in tandem, because if I would have never even went on this journey, I wouldn't have had any of that. I wouldn't have had anything I can call a success, I feel like. You know, I would just be sitting still. So it's all, I think that's how I perceive it.
That's good. That's good. Well, as we always like to do with our guests, we like to wrap the show with a quick little lightning round. So we're going to toss some quick fire questions at you.
Let's go.
And here we go. Lightning in 3, 2, 1. Who's your favorite superhero and why?
Oh, why you do this to me? Oh my God. My favorite superhero is Aang, the Last Airbender.
Okay.
Dang.
Okay.
That's a unique one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I like that. No,
Well,
good.
yeah. He's everything I ever wanted to be stylistically, and you know, like Bruce Lee was one of my biggest inspirations. So like, you know, him talking about how water can flow and crash, and how like he, you know, he don't just want to learn one way of doing something. He want to learn different ways of doing different things, and that's the whole reason why I didn't want to just be a jooker and didn't want to just learn juking. I wanted to learn ballet. I wanted to learn how they move in gymnastics. I wanted to learn how, you know, what modern dancers are thinking and feeling. I wanted to learn Kuchipudi Indian dance. I wanted to learn all these different things, you know what I'm saying, to help me become a better mover in general and to help me grow in that. So like, I feel like Aang is kind of that same. Aang has this, you know, he can bend in so many different ways, right? Not just air, but water and fire and all these different elements. And I feel like, you know, I feel like I was trying to live that, you know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah.
What is your favorite shoe to dance in?
My favorite shoe to dance in, I have two. My favorite, one of them is the classic Air Force One low top, and the other one is the Griffeys, the Ken Griffey Nikes, because they're durable, but they're also cool looking.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's say if you was to break your ankles, both of them, just tragically, can't even bring them back, lose your legs, just straight up in a wheelchair. Anyway, point is, if you wasn't joking, what would you be doing?
I be teaching, man. I feel like I've developed, like, I feel like that's one thing that because I've been thinking about that too. Like, what do you enjoy most out of what you do and out of what I do? And teaching is one of those things I really enjoy. I feel like I've taken so much time out to actually learning my craft the right way, and that's the beautiful thing I love about our generation in general, right? Like we didn't have YouTube and stuff like that we could go to learn everything, or even Google, you know what I'm saying? When we were growing up, we had to fucking take the time out to learn step by step, day by day, the things we had to learn, right? And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people have that quick access and those quick answers to these questions, and we have that experience of actually feeling and living and breathing these answers to the questions we had through people that lived it. You know, through other people that lived it, and in these stories that are being told to us, you know. So we have this whole different way of taking in information, and then this generation does now. And there's a lot of, there's just a lot of value in that, and just being able to have experienced that. You know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like it means a lot more when I teach to certain people. You know, when I teach these lessons that I've learned to certain people. So like, I think teaching is one thing I enjoy the most.
Word.
Heck yeah.
What is a dream opportunity for you?
A dream opportunity for me would be to dance at Salar, the salt flats in Bolivia.
Whoa.
That's tight.
You ever heard of those salt flats in Bolivia that
I feel like if I
the
see
sky?
I feel like if I see a photo, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow, that's crazy.
That's dope. What is your proudest moment?
My proudest moment is making this Memphis Jukin show, making this Memphis Jukin tour, because the whole reason why I had to do all of this, which I'm always grateful for, is because we never had a platform in Memphis, Tennessee for our dance style at all. Like, we never had a platform where we can actually excel as professional dancers, and knowing that we are professional dancers because of all the time we put into it, there's never been a platform to show people that. And I feel like this show that I've created has given, especially dancers in Memphis, especially a platform to be able to show people, you know, who they are and how they're professional dancers and professional performers and should be considered that. So that's one of the most proudest moments in my life.
That's dope. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be?
If I can have any superpower in the world, it would be to be able to to be able to levitate.
Levitate.
Levitate like yourself? Levitate things like telekinesis? Use your mind?
Just myself.
Just float.
Yeah.
You don't even want to fly, you just want to float.
Nope, I don't want to fly. I just want to float on demand.
Get a couple inches off the ground.
But you already doing that with your glides and stuff. You're just taking away your entire glide
you don't
repertoire.
know the dreams I have. You don't know you don't know how the training I've done just in case it actually happened. Like, you don't even know the preparation that I've had mentally into like what my dance style would be like if I could just come up a little bit. Even for like 20 seconds, just come off the ground a little bit, then come back down. That's dope. Then just be able to control it. I wouldn't even overuse it. I would just do it in spurts and moments that would just make it
floating for 20 seconds straight is not overusing it. You just
that is overusing.
Fully
defined
gravity.
I'm just saying, I want to at least have that much time to be able to do it before I have to come back down on the ground.
I feel like you've thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't even know.
Yeah,
you don't even know. But yeah, I just want to levitate, man.
Okay.
You don't have to share this, but I'm gonna ask anyway. What's the most you ever got paid for a swan performance?
Oh, you know what? You know what? I'm gonna tell you. Just to show, and like, look, all right, I'm gonna tell you like this. When I performed the Swan, that piece was created from me freestyle juking to classical music, freestyle street dancing to classical music, but doing that in a very vulnerable way to the music where people can actually feel like they're getting to know who I am personally. I didn't over try, I didn't over choreograph, I didn't overdo none of this stuff. It was all heart. So that being said, and the choreography just happened the more I did it. That being said, I think I got paid, I want to say just that.
Just the Swan.
Like just the Swan?
Just the Swan.
Probably like $45,000.
Damn.
Pretty sick freestyle.
That's a good
Yeah.
freestyle bag
Wow.
right there.
Yeah, that's not a bad
Hey, but
bag.
honestly, I've seen that. I don't know which one, but I've definitely seen you do the Swan performance before, and I remember thinking to myself, I was like, "This is special." You had your foot over your head. It was like toe heeling over to the side and stuff.
Yeah.
You're catching your foot over here. I'm like, okay, I can't do that. That's different.
Yeah, so that's the most I got paid to do the Swan.
That's what's up.
I'd say.
That's amazing, dude.
Well, you said
Street dance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The
It's
places you
amazing.
can take it.
Exactly. Well, you say you're a Bruce Lee fan, so we love this quote from Bruce Lee. He says, "I fear not the man that has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man that has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Right?
Yes.
The concept of mastery. What is something that you feel like you've mastered?
I'm glad you brought that up because that's so important.
Oh, we did spend like 20 minutes talking about this dude doing ankle ups
Man.
and shit like that.
No, but I feel like
Yeah.
I've
that's
mastered
pretty unique.
self-patience, the ability to be patient with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's been a key in me learning as much as I've learned and taking the time out to learn as much as I learned to actually make sure I become successful at what I do. A lot of people, especially in this generation right now, don't want to take all of the time out to learn as much as they have to learn to build foundation for themselves and then learn more to grow. It's like I see Memphis Jukin as my foundation, right? Like if it was a house, Memphis Jukin is the foundation, the bricks, all of that stuff. It's all of that. It's what keeps the house up. And then all these other dance styles I've learned and forms of movement I've learned and ways of taking that on and approach to dance I've learned is how I decorate my house, right? It's all these other things that I can, show off inside the house. And so I think it's to have a complete home, you got to have foundation. Foundation is a big part of what you do. So I don't consider myself a master of none, but I also don't consider myself a master of one. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I like Memphis Jukin, I've taken all the time in it. I'm still learning it. That's why I'm still learning more about this culture, even up to this day. I'm still learning more about what I can do with it. I guess that's because it's such a freestyle based dance. Like it's like, but so you're constantly learning yourself within that. But a lot of people these days, they want to learn everything, right? I mean, I don't see it being a problem at all, to be honest. But a lot of people want to learn everything at once, but not have any foundation built on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for me personally, having a foundational style that I've grown and is getting close to mastering, day by day, or I may have mastered one level, but then this is a whole nother level I got to master, and a whole nother level I still got to master. So I'm still growing, but I've mastered this in certain levels as far as Memphis Jukin, and having that be the foundation to like these other things I'm learning has helped keep longevity in my life and in my career. Because like if I only had Memphis Jukin, a little bit of Memphis Jukin, a little bit of this and a little bit of that I can show you, then I feel like personally for me, I don't know, I feel like it wouldn't be as much, I don't know, for lack of a better word, I'd say personally, I feel like it wouldn't be as much substance or I don't know, or it wouldn't be that, that's a part of it, I guess. It would, or it wouldn't be as deep, I'd say. if I didn't have that foundation, because with that foundation comes the culture, and that culture it comes out when I move.
All right.
So yeah.
I love it, man. Well,
I
bro,
turned them lightning rounds to just
Nah, it's all
long
good.
ass soliloquies.
It's all good.
Sorry about that.
Doppler
They-
3000 in here, man.
They tend to do that. Bro, first of all, man, thank you for coming on and sharing your incredible story. I think both Anthony and I just sitting over here, we're just like, just getting dumped on with all this like inspiration, sure, but like what I'm getting from you, bro, is just your passion for what you do, and I also feel like it's bigger than just like a personal goal. It's not like it's about me and my dreams to become the best dancer. Like, yeah, sure, you can have that,
Yeah.
but I think you're what you're doing for the culture, for like putting Memphis on the map, like putting that style of dance, like all your OGs, the guys that came before you, to the people who are your contemporaries, to the future generations, and you really wanting to put it on for the community of people that brought you up, and also dance as a whole. I feel like you're doing so much to push the category of dance, and showing that it can't be just limited to a certain way of perception. It goes as far as your imagination can go, but you also are, you exemplify the hard work that it takes, the hours and the blood, sweat, and tears, and sore body. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting in the actual work, and so man, that's personally just very inspiring. And like, yeah, dude, it's so cool to see the way that you see taking risks, and but not just being reckless about just risking, for no reason, but taking specific risks that are pointing you towards your path. That itself, I think, is really inspiring to do, because it's not easy to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's your focus that drives you. So just wanted to acknowledge that, and just thank you for coming on and spending some time with us and sharing with us, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah,
I
man,
really appreciate getting to talk
I'm
about
so
this stuff.
I'm so hyped to have you here because, like, one, I've always known of you as a dancer. You've obviously made quite a name for yourself and an impact in the community, and doing such a unique thing. So that already stood out. So like, getting Buck on here would be super dope. And the way that this even happened is, we were just joking about this right before the pod started. The fact that we was in Rio together, and
That's where it was, Rio.
Yeah,
it wasn't
in Rio.
Hawaii. It was Rio. Okay, got it.
We
Yeah.
was talking about how we was in Rio at a camp together, and then you wanted to go see Christ the Redeemer, but via helicopter. And I want to see Christ the Redeemer, but I wasn't thinking about a helicopter. And you're like, hey, man, let's go on a helicopter. I was like, okay. And then you took me on this magical trip, and I'll never forget it. And you like wined to dine me, and then that was the only time I ever saw you again. And that was it. And then
You
I just
gotta
had
make an impression on that
this
first
spot
date.
in my
There
heart
you
for
go.
you. You know what I mean? I think Kenzo was with us too, but
Yeah.
that obviously turning to a one point of connection, just like you coming over for a music video for 3 days and then meeting somebody and you kept in touch with a year later, that being a point of connection and being like, yo, we got to bring this dude on the pod, and then being more so validated and honestly just an honor to have you here also, because I think that, there are parallelisms to the way that yourself and even like the Kinjaz have like an ethos for like what we do in our mission. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that there's a lot of ways that, similarly speaking, we've always aspired to just kind of like change the perception of dance, whether it be from like a cultural point of view, or the way people looked at us like as Asians,
Yeah.
to even just the way dance was in general, being able to like be, the first crew to get on stage like by ourselves, not with an artist, just to rep and perform in places like Coachella, or to like work with Nike to build like the first ever high performance dance shoe.
Yeah.
Like, those are things that we also always were trying to just like hope for and dream for better, something that we had never seen before. We don't even know what to dream for because we just knew it hadn't happened yet. And I see the same things in what you're saying and your actions as well. You know what I mean? Taking dance to a place that's not even like what dancers could perceive. It's just what other people perceive about dance, and it's very inspiring to like have you in this space. And like Ben saying, it's just so dope to have you here, because that shit resonates for people like us and what we've done with our journey as well, So
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And my whole life is just being about like, You know what's crazy? I tend to ask people what they wanted to do with their lives. You know, people that aren't, you know, or don't get an opportunity to take that chance, right? Like what they want to do. Like when I go to Japan and see my mom, I mean my wife's moms and my wife's family, and I'm always asking. I'm asking her mom, I'm asking her dad, what did y'all have any dreams when y'all was young that y'all wanted to come true, or what? Like, sometimes I find myself asking people that type of things because like, and then I realize like I think I'm just obsessed with making with accomplishing and taking it to the next level. Those little things that I thought was so small when I was growing up, right? Or that were small for a lot of people, but were big for me, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I grew up poor. I grew up wearing Bobos, non-name brand shoes, and then I would get talked about it for, and then I'd be like, you know what? One day I'm gonna wear Nikes, and one day I'm gonna represent Nike. I'm gonna be a Nike. And then next thing you know, I'm doing all this stuff with Nike, and my show's powered by Nike, and then I end up being like, you know what? I want to look good one day. I want to be able to dress fresh, and then, taking that dream beyond, and then, doing everything I've done in the fashion world, so like, I'm just, trying to, make that little kid's dreams come true. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
That Lil Buck's dreams come true. And
Yeah.
I'm having fun doing it and on that journey. And I'm glad, I appreciate y'all for letting me come here and just talk about that journey with y'all, man, and just be, real, candid, and have this cool conversation.
Well, speaking of journey, what can people be on the lookout for? I know you got a show that you're doing.
Yeah, so right now, we're on the second half of our Memphis Jukin' the Show tour that has been touring. This is the second run of that tour. It's pretty much a look into the Memphis Jukin', the Memphis culture in general, the Memphis culture of dance and of music through the lens of Lil Buck, through my lens. It's a show that I produced and, co-choreographed and, helped direct a little bit here and there. And yeah, it's a show that means a lot to me because it's, showing people what we got in Memphis, showing people, who we are as a culture and as dancers and as artists. And I got another show that I'm working on with John Buggs with the Public Theater in New York that I can't say too much about, but it's big.
Dope.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we got some. We trying to, we are always trying to break barriers and with movement together. So like, got a show coming up with the Public Theater and a film that we're working on together as well right now with a certain production company that's pretty hot.
Got it.
That's amazing, man.
Got a lot of big secret projects coming up.
That's
gonna be definitely a good look. Just for the culture of dance in general, and the culture of street dance, and for us. So
that's what's up. How can people follow you, social, all that stuff?
Yeah, people can follow me on, all my social medias, pretty much the same name, at Lil Buck, the Legend, D-A Legend, Lilbuck, D as in dog, A as in apple, Legend, the Legend.
Dope.
I came up with that name because I tried to put it in the atmosphere. I tried to say, you know what? When I was a kid, I came up with that name and I was like, I want to be a legend when I grow up. I wanted people to remember me. So Lil Buck the Legend was born from that. Don't think I'm out there being cocky and shit. Like, he thinks he's a legend.
Oh man, you gotta
I was trying to speak it into existence.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So like, y'all can follow me at Lil Buck the Legend on my Instagram. That's also like, Facebook.com/Lil Buck the Legend. That's my Facebook. Y'all can follow me on all my social media platforms like that. And yeah, lilbuck.com. Go to my website to, find out what I'm doing, what I have done, and what's coming up next.
That's what's up.
Heck yeah.
We'll plug all that in the description. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. If you're finding this episode by itself, we have a bunch more before this one. We have amazing guests just like Lil Buck. If you are digging what we're doing, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like us. If you're really digging what we're doing, leave us a 5-star rating, write us a review, let us know what you like, even what you don't like. We gotta grow too. So I'll make sure you follow us on socials, KINJAZ Podcast, Cast with the K, across all the things. Watch us on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube already, you already know. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.
Get your bang, y'all.
Boom. You got it.
You got it right there, dude. Look at that.